Another Christmas is approaching this year. Our dear clown art is back. Living people are fed to rats and skinned alive. All sorts of unimaginable extreme scenes. Challenge your limits. On Christmas Eve, little girl Jules wakes her parents up. She hears strange noises downstairs, and suspects that Santa Claus has come to visit. Jane laughs at her daughter's imagination. Seeing that Jules can't sleep for a while, she goes downstairs to get milk and cookies. However, there really are thumps coming from upstairs. As Jane is about to go check, she discovers that the front door is actually unlocked. She quickly locks the door again, and returns to the bedroom to scold her husband for being careless. Mike lies in bed, completely still. Finally, unable to hold back, he says, "Can we talk about this tomorrow? I'm tired and just want to sleep now." In the middle of the night, Jules is awakened by strange noises again. She sees a shadow flash downstairs, and excitedly wakes her sister Timmy, saying, "Santa Claus has come to our house." But her sister refuses to get up and stays in bed. Jules can only go downstairs by herself. She saw Santa Claus rummaging through a bag, but instead of pulling out presents, he pulls out a sharp axe. Jules hides in the shadows, too scared to make a sound. Santa Claus holds an axe, and heads to the second floor. She cautiously follows him, and sees Santa Claus walk into her sister's room.
"Juliet, I told you to stay out of my room."
Santa Claus walked into his parents' bedroom again, carrying a bloody axe. He chopped Mike to death. As if he were splitting wood, Jane was awakened by the sounds, and groggily turned over. She discovered her arms were covered in blood. She quickly turned on the lamp by her bed, and saw the horrific scene in the room. Clown Art is dressed in Santa Claus costume, and continues to hack Mike. Jane struggled to escape through the door. The clown smirked at her through the broken door panel. Not finding her youngest daughter in the room, Jane ran to her eldest daughter's bedroom. She found a room full of dismembered limbs. She let out a mournful scream. While in anguish, she had to dodge the clown's attacks. Jane shouted and ran to the first floor, but before she could open the door, she was struck by the axe. The clown threw her against the wall, and swung the axe toward her abdomen. Jane clutched her stomach, trying to make a final struggle, but the clown gave her no chance. As cheerful Christmas carols played, he finished the cookies on the table, and carefully washed the plate. Suddenly, the clown noticed the cupboard beside him. He opened the door to find Jules curled up inside. The clown smiled and waved at her. The scene shifted to 5 years ago. In the previous story, the female protagonist Sienna chopped off the clown art, to the point of dismemberment, in order to protect her younger brother. Meanwhile, the disfigured woman in the psychiatric hospital suddenly gave birth to a clown's head. At this moment, an officer received a report, and patrolled the crime scene alone. He saw the decapitated clown's body, and quickly contacted his superiors for backup. However, due to Halloween, there is not enough manpower in the bureau, so support cannot come temporarily. He simply decides to search the area for clues, but in a moment, the headless corpse has mysteriously vanished. The next second, the Joker chokes the officer. The officer quickly fires 2 shots at him. Unfortunately, this amount of damage is nearly ineffective. Soon, the Joker walks into the subway covered in blood. He even places the officer's head on himself, because it's Halloween, and everyone is in costumes. The woman across from him does not scream in fright. She couldn't help but look up and down at the Joker. Meanwhile, a Chang suddenly wakes from his sleep on duty at the asylum. As he prepares to grab a cup of coffee to wake up, he heard a piercing scream. A Chang hurriedly runs to the scene to check. He saw a Joker's head, sucking the blood of a female nurse. Warm liquid flows through the umbilical cord into the mouth of the disfigured woman. This scene is very disgusting. A Chang is so frightened that he keeps retreating. He accidentally turns around, only to see a headless corpse waving in greeting. The disfigured woman lunges at him like a madwoman, gripping a Chang tightly and refusing to let go. She and the headless corpse tear apart the other's head. Soon, a tear reassembles himself, taking the disfigured woman to board the last subway train. When they reach the next station, a passerby dressed as a ghost clown enters. He eagerly chats with the two of them, complimenting Ater on his superb makeup skills. His blood-stained appearance looks quite intimidating. Ater and the disfigured woman share a smile. They seem to enjoy this kind of attention. When the two of them get off the train, Ater has already changed into clean clothes. It goes without saying that it must have been taken off from that guy. The two arrive at an abandoned building to set up camp. This family was wiped out by Ater in the 1990s. The disfigured woman looks through the mirror, seeing her own ugly reflection. She was very angry and smashed the glass. She picks up a shard and climbs into the bathtub. She quietly waits for her blood to drain. As for Ater, he drags a rocking chair to sit by the window, slowly enjoying the thick night. Only the creaking sound of the rocking chair echoed. The next day, 2 demolition company workers come to inspect. They split into 2 teams to check the entire building. The house is very dilapidated inside. The electrical and other basic facilities have long been abandoned. At this moment, the bald guy catches a glimpse of a room to the side shimmering with light. Meanwhile, Paul upstairs also sees someone sitting by the window. He cautiously calls out a greeting, but Ater in the rocking chair remains unresponsive. Paul can only call out to his companions downstairs, but the bald guy is following the light into the bathroom. He immediately saw the corpse in the bathtub. He quickly pulls out his phone to take a picture. Unexpectedly, the disfigured woman tightens her grip on the shard. In an instant, it stabs into the bald guy's neck. It turns out that the light was reflected from the mirror. On Paul's side, he also gathers his courage to approach the Joker. Ater is covered in a layer of cobwebs, looking as if he has been sitting there for a long time. Just as Paul was wondering whether this was a real person, Ater suddenly grabbed him. The bloodshed completely awakened the 2 maniacs. The disfigured woman loosened her stiff muscles, and then stabbed the bald man again. Ater also stepped forward to hold Paul down. He picked up a nail from the ground, and pierced it through Paul's palm. He doesn't feel satisfied, and bit off Paul's finger with his mouth. Then he pulled out a knife and sliced open Paul's head, peeling off Paul's scalp, as if he were shelling a hard-boiled egg. Meanwhile, Sienna didn't know that Ater is still alive. After experiencing the previous Halloween massacre, she was taken care of by her Uncle Craig at home. Her young niece Gabby has been looking forward to seeing Sienna, so Gabby warmly welcomes her arrival. Gabby is a rather special girl, who loves bloody and terrifying things. Last year, she fell and got 7 stitches. Not only did she not cry, but she was also very excited. Gabby was about to talk about the details of her stitches, but her mother Jessie quickly stopped her. The 3 of them chatted and joked at the dining table. The cheerful atmosphere lifted Sienna's spirits. If there are no illusions in front of us, she could almost forget the shadow on her heart. Sienna's smile froze at the corners of her mouth. Her bloodied friend babbled incessantly before her. Jessie and Craig noticed that their niece was acting strangely. They quickly asked her if she was okay. Sienna didn't want to worry anyone, but the illusions wouldn't let her go. Sienna can only make an excuse to go to the bathroom, to escape the nightmare of the dining table. Meanwhile, her younger brother Jonathan has just returned to the college dorm from class. He finds his roommate with his girlfriend Mia. The blonde has heard about Jonathan for a long time. After all, the clown from Miles County is quite famous. Mia has a podcast about crime events with her roommate. They are currently covering the Miles County Massacre, so they hope Jonathan can be a guest. He doesn't know how to interact with girls, and can only say he will think about it. At this moment, Sienna calls Jonathan. In this world, only the 2 of them can truly understand each other, so Sienna really wants to talk to her brother. She hides the fact that she must take medication to suppress her illusions. She asks Jonathan when he will come back for Christmas. She is looking forward to this holiday. In the evening, Jesse goes downstairs to talk with Sienna. He hoped to give this girl some love, and help her through her tough times. The scene shifts back to Ater. He is researching new types of weapons. Ater freezes a small mouse with liquid nitrogen. Then he grabs its tail and smashes it. Ater is very pleased with the results. He takes a garbage bag and strolls down the street. He immediately spots a Santa Claus costume. Ater rushes into a bar, excited and dancing. The Santa in the costume looks at him with disdain. He doesn't know where this weird person came from. Ater wants to pull off the old man's beard. The old man quickly says it's a real beard. How can you play Santa without a beard? Ater hurriedly puts on a look of, "Buddy, I understand your expression." A man in a checkered shirt asks Ater, "What's in that trash bag of yours?" The man suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, but he still had a bad feeling in her heart. However, the Santa had completely let his guard down, and was ready to buy Ater a few drinks. The man in the checkered shirt seized the opportunity to ask for his ID. After all, in the U.S., he can't sell alcohol to minors. Ater rummaged through the garbage bag for a moment, and tossed a wallet onto the table. Since he had clown makeup on his face, it was hard to tell if Ater matched the ID photo. The man in the checkered shirt didn't want to spoil the mood, and quickly handed a drink to the customer.
What the fuck is the matter with you?
The Santa quickly snatches back his hat. He wants to push this guy off his lap. It turns out Ater is still sitting on his lap, and has even started to urinate on the floor. The Santa immediately pushed him away. He clenched his fists. ready to teach this kid a lesson. The man in the checkered shirt and the older man nearby quickly step in between to break up the fight. The checkered shirt guy throws a tear and the garbage bag aside, telling him to leave his shop immediately. Unexpectedly, a tear pulls out a gun from the bag. He directly smashed the head of the checkered shirt. Soon, the bald uncle is also hit by gunfire. Seeing this, the Santa quickly raises his hands in surrender. He is so frightened that he can hardly speak.
I don't know what happened. Take it. Take it. It's yours. You look really good at it.
A tear ties the old man to a chair. Then he changed into a Santa costume. He pulls out his beloved liquid nitrogen and sprays it violently on the old man's lower body. The liquid nitrogen instantly freezes the muscles into hard blocks. A tear grabs a small hammer and crazily pounds the frozen flesh. Finally, he freezes the old man's head, like he's knocking on a block of ice, shattering a living person. A tear tears off the old man's white beard and stuffs it into his pocket to take with him. As Christmas approaches, the streets are festive, filled with children everywhere. They line up to receive gifts from Santa Claus. Sienna takes Gabby shopping at the mall. As she is picking out clothes, she suddenly heard a malfunction sound on the radio. Then, a blood-soaked Santa Claus passes by. He waves at Sienna while carrying a large bag. Sienna freezes in place, unable to move, until Gabby comes over to bring Sienna back to her senses. At this moment, the Santa outside has vanished. Feeling uneasy, Sienna immediately rushes to her brother's school to see him, and hopes Jonathan can come home tonight. Jonathan rejects Sienna's suggestion, lying that he has a party to attend tonight. He can only go back on Christmas Eve. Just as he finishes speaking, his roommate brings Mia over. The two are very excited to see Sienna. Mia instantly turns into a fan. She has always admired Sienna, so she can't help but ask her numerous questions. In her words, she thinks defeating the clown is a really cool thing. This attitude completely infuriates Sienna. After that disaster, she developed a mental illness, constantly remembering those who died, and it isn't something to be proud of. Jonathan privately complains to his sister. The unknown is innocent. Is it worth getting angry at Mia? Sienna can only confess, I saw a tear again, and he was wearing a Santa Claus costume. However, due to her illness and medication, Sienna can't distinguish whether what she sees is an illusion or reality. Jonathan thinks his sister is overthinking. After all, a tear's head was severed from his body back then. How could he possibly still be alive? Jonathan's life has finally gotten back on track. He doesn't want to hear his sister's nonsense anymore. Sienna feels deeply disappointed upon hearing this. She remembers that Jonathan exposed a tear's wrongdoing at that time, and no one believed him. Only Sienna has always stood by her brother, but now their roles have reversed. Jonathan pushes her away at the door. Sienna pleads with her brother to trust her just this once. Jonathan finally softens upon hearing this. They both know they can't report this to the police. They can only rely on their own investigation. Sienna has been unable to understand why the disfigured woman went missing. She believed Ater's resurrection might be related to this person. After sending his sister away, Jonathan falls into anxiety. He wants to inform Aunt Jessie about the situation, but he fears it would worry her. Jonathan angrily pushed down the things on the table and collapsed onto the bed to calm his emotions. And it turns out Sienna was not mistaken. That Santa Claus with the bag was indeed Ater. At this moment, the employee pretending to be Santa in the mall has returned to the backstage to rest. A few parents and children are still gathered around. Ater tiptoes and sits in the chair, pretending to be a staff member. A little girl sees Santa working and immediately runs over while her mother is distracted. Ater gestures for her to wait a moment. Then he fumbles through the plastic bag for a gift. The girl's mother has just finished replying to a message when she sees an odd-looking Santa talking to her daughter. She was about to call the Santa back, but other children rushed over in groups to ask for gifts. They pounced on the bag, choosing their presents. The person dressed as an elf looked dumbfounded. Bill clearly hadn't started his shift yet. Where did that Santa sitting up there come from? Hearing this, the security guard rushed forward to drive away the children. Ater showed an unhappy expression at this. The guard yanked him off the chair, chasing Ater away like a fly. A blond boy eagerly tore open his gift. The poor child was instantly blown up. Ater wore a twisted smile of excitement. In the evening, Sienna returned home with gifts. Aunt Jessie was preparing for Christmas. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of food. Uncle Craig asked who wanted some cereal first. Gabby blurted out that Sienna didn't like cereal. Sienna called Gabby upstairs upon hearing this. She asked if Gabby stole a peek at her diary, because Sienna had never told anyone that she didn't like cereal. After Jabbe was exposed, he could only confess, but she just wanted to understand what had happened to Sienna, and why she saw the clown again.
Gabby, I'm sick. I see things that aren't there.
At this point, Sienna can only plead with Gabby not to tell anyone about the contents of her diary. At the same time, the clown drives Baldy's car, carrying a large bag. He enters the college dormitory. As he passes by Mia's room, he suddenly hears Jonathan's name. Ater instantly recalls some bad memories, and Mia quickly brings up the clown's great deeds. Outside, Ater waves his hand shyly. It means he's not that powerful. Ater crosses his arms and continues to eavesdrop. Mia is surprisingly using her looks to bribe her boyfriend for Jonathan's interview. Ater decides to discreetly leave his hiding spot. Meanwhile, the mall bombing has made the news. It mentions a clown impersonating Santa Claus, who used a bomb to kill many people. Sienna suddenly realizes she wasn't mistaken. That terrifying nightmare has truly returned.
No, he's gonna come.
All right,
It's okay. We have to get. As long as I'm here, we're in danger. Okay.
Craig had no choice but to contact Jonathan, saying, "Your sister is very anxious after seeing the news. She insists that you come home tonight." Jonathan agrees to come back immediately. Craig changes his clothes to pick up his nephew. Meanwhile, Mia and her boyfriend are getting cozy in the public bathroom. Unbeknownst to them, Ater has set his sights on them. The clown pulls out a chainsaw from the garbage bag. He directly cuts through the thin frosted glass. Ater continues to hack with the saw. Mia's screams echo throughout the bathroom. In an instant, blood splatters everywhere. The young couple is chopped into pieces. Their blood pools into a puddle. Ater lies in it, enjoying his work. At almost 2 o'clock in the morning, Sienna wakes up from a dream. She vaguely hears voices coming from downstairs, so she carefully sneaks downstairs to eavesdrop. She overhears Craig talking to Jesse. "Should we smother Sienna to death while it's late? That way, we won't have to endure her episodes anymore." Sienna knows her uncle wouldn't think like that, so she walks straight into the kitchen. She saw the disfigured woman standing with Ater inside. Ater is nailing a headless corpse to the wall. It's clear that the deceased is a male. Sienna instinctively tries to run, but Ater grabs her ankle and drags her back. She has no weapons around her and no ability to fight back. She is knocked out cold by Ater. When Sienna regains consciousness, she realized she is tied to a chair. Aunt Jessie is tied up across from her. Ater is seen cutting the intestines of the headless corpse, carefully wrapping them around the Christmas tree. At the top, Craig's head is stuck. The disfigured woman teasingly removes the tape from Jessie's mouth. Jessie quickly asks, "Where is my daughter? What are you planning to do?" Hearing this, Ater unwraps a paper package on the table, revealing a human head inside a birdcage. Several rats have gnawed it to bits. Jessie refuses to believe this is her daughter. She spits in the disfigured woman's face. Sienna struggles desperately. As a result, she receives several slaps from Ater. Their reactions infuriate the two perverts. The disfigured woman grabs Jessie's head and forcefully pries her mouth open. She shoves a plastic tube into it. Ater raises a hammer, viciously driving the plastic tube deeper into her mouth. The disfigured woman grabs a rat from the cage and stuffs it into the plastic tube, connected to Jessie's esophagus. The fat rat wriggles in her throat. The disfigured woman uses a knife to dig the rat out directly. Next, she removes her crown of thorns and forcefully places it onto Sienna's head. The nails pierce deeply into Sienna's skin. The disfigured woman says, "The gift I've prepared for you hasn't made its entrance yet." Just as she finishes speaking, Ater appears holding Gabby. The little girl sees the horrific state of her mother's body.
Fucking kill you! Stop! You cruel fuck!
Hearing this, Ater pulls out the human head from the birdcage. He puts a familiar pair of glasses on it. Sienna immediately recognizes it as her brother's. In an instant, she loses her sanity. Her hope of survival has been completely taken away. The disfigured woman steps forward and grabs Sienna's throat. Unexpectedly, Sienna suddenly erupted with powerful force. Seeing this, Ater has to grab Gabby. The little girl cries and apologizes to Sienna, saying, "You haven't opened the gift I gave you yet." The disfigured woman hears this and pulls out the gift. She's a bit curious about what's inside, so she tosses it to Sienna, letting her open it herself. Hearing this, Ater steps forward and slashes Sienna's hands. Sienna can only endure the pain and opens the gift.
I hope you like it.
Best gift ever.
Sienna suddenly unleashes a flurry of strikes at both of them. She draws her sword and decapitates the disfigured woman. Ater raises the chainsaw, ready for one final fight, but he underestimates Sienna's fury. She resembles a warrior goddess with the sword in hand. She crazily slashes at him. Gabby seizes the moment to step in and help, but A Tear is no ordinary human. He quickly turns the tide of the battle. He pins Sienna firmly to the ground. The whirring chainsaw is just inches away. In a moment of crisis, Sienna stabs A Tear's wound fiercely. She seizes the opportunity to crawl towards her sword. A Tear quickly swings the chainsaw to stop her. He presses Sienna into the corpse against the wall. She struggles desperately to break free and grab her weapon. She stabs A Tear in the abdomen with all her strength. Just then, an unexpected turn of events occurs. The rotting, disfigured woman burns a hole in the floor. Seeing Gabby about to fall in, Sienna hurriedly hands her the handle of the knife. She grips the blade with her bare hands, but the sharp dagger quickly cuts through her palm. Gabby still falls into the deep pit. By the time Sienna comes to her senses, A Tear has already escaped. She removed the crown of thorns and saw deep cuts in her palm, revealing bone. Shockingly, it heals back to normal in an instant.
We'll find you.
Now, not only is the clown unkillable, but the protagonist has also achieved a super evolution. The story in the 4th installment will surely be even more exciting. Clown Art is the most headache-inducing protagonist, because his killings are completely meaningless and purposeless. It's purely a killing caused by playfulness. Moreover, he has an invincible bug. He is practically an unsolvable existence. This installment is even more bloody than its predecessors. The intensity is comparable to that in Evil Dead, using a grater on the thigh. It makes viewers cringe in pain through the screen. There are all kinds of ways to die. It truly challenges the writer's imagination. There are not many killing methods left for the 4th installment. Audiences with a high tolerance for gore can check out the original film. If you enjoy my channel, please click to subscribe.